Hello everyone, welcome back to Knowing Who, episode 13, unlucky for some, unlucky in a lot of ways actually. I'm ill, I'm ill, and we just spent nearly 2 hours dealing with technical issues.
Just trying to make the VO booth work.
It's been, yeah. So that's that really.
But don't worry, we have a great episode.
We have a great episode to talk
favorite
about.
episode to discuss.
So before we do that, let's just have a bit of a rundown on
what's happened in the last 2 weeks.
Well, it was my birthday.
Oh my god.
I went to London and saw stars of The Sound of Drums McFly on stage.
Yes, of course.
I also saw
That's a deep cut.
what did you say?
That's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut. It is a very deep cut. I'm glad that you got it.
I did. I only know it. I didn't know it when I first
Go
watched
Harry,
that
or whatever they say.
Yeah.
And I also saw our 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, in The Duchess at the Trafalgar Theatre, which was very, very heavy. But Jodie was fantastic, and we will be talking more about Jodie next time.
Yes,
but we'll save that for then.
Get into that just yet.
But yeah, what about actual Doctor Who news?
Doctor Who, in the world of Doctor Who, well, we've had some new action figures revealed.
We've had
at
long last.
Finally, yes. We'd never heard that. We didn't even know these were in production, did we? Officially,
no, we never knew about this.
They never got leaked at Toy Fair.
No, and when was that? That was like April or something.
I think it was earlier. I think Toy
might
Fair
have been
was
last
like
year.
January, February.
Yeah,
it was really
very long time ago.
Yeah, so we knew they were coming. I think everyone, even Al Dewar, whatever.
Al.
Sorry, Al. So even Al's been posting about them online pretty nonchalantly.
Yeah.
And now we've finally seen the official press images of them. Still waiting on the pictures of the general release versions, but the Vortex versions, the Character Online options, exclusive ones, Character Online options, they're now revealed, and they are the Church on Ruby Road versions, and they look amazing.
Oh, they look so good.
I can't wait.
They're so worth the wait,
I know.
And like
they're on sale on Wednesday for those listening. I
they
think
are.
10 a.m. is what I've heard.
So have you decided on? Are you getting both?
I'm going to try and get both.
You're going to get
as long as it doesn't break the bank. I'm going to get both.
I mean, considering that the online one, it's
£40
for the both,
figures.
so 20 each. So
I would
standard
assume,
may be the same price or maybe
I would
cheaper.
assume they're a bit cheaper, but not hugely.
Not hugely.
Yeah,
I reckon it'd
probably
be like
15, 14,
15 at a push. I'd say 17. I say 17.99. I think like just slightly cheaper.
I mean, we've seen how much the shooty screwdriver is.
Yeah.
So but I think I'll get them regardless. I have enough to survive if I buy 4 action figures.
Yeah,
you know?
I think I've already said this to you. I think I'm going to wait for Space Baby Shooty and Dot and Bubble Millie.
Unconfirmed whether that's actually what they are.
Well, that's what they've said in the press release. They've mentioned the different.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously these things
they
are
have.
rumored,
You're right. I have read that.
But yeah, they've said that they're going to be those versions. So I'm going to hold out for those and maybe even save a bit of money in the process. I don't know.
True.
Who knows? It might be a lovely Christmas
I
stocking
want
filler.
The whole shebang.
Yeah,
you know, I love having me. I want to support the line. You know.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Yeah.
It's
especially the online stuff.
If we want more, which we do, and everyone out there listening, if you want more figures, you got to buy them.
If we want that Roth Warrior figure that we saw at Toy Fair, then we've got to support these.
If no one buys
these,
then they're going to think no one wants them.
Yeah.
So we've got to. I'm not trying. Obviously, if you can't afford it, if you don't like them, don't. But like, if you really want the line to do well, then.
Try and support these guys.
That's why I'm going to get them all.
So that's very exciting. I'm sure we'll have those dollies on our hands very soon.
What else is going on?
What else? War Between the Land and the Sea. Is anything happened on that?
There's a bit. Not huge news, but they've now wrapped filming in. Is it Mallorca?
In Spain, yeah.
Somewhere in. Yeah. I think they're on a Canary Island somewhere.
Yeah.
They've now wrapped their foreign shooting because the cast have posted pictures of themselves just chilling out on boats and saying that they've wrapped. So that's still going. They've announced some new cast members as well, but I didn't recognise any of the names.
I recognise the faces, but I don't recognise the names.
I haven't got the list in front of me, and I should have prepared that. But you know, there's some more cast as well. So
cast members from like proper drama, like serious dramas as well.
I've just remembered, unrelated. There's some huge news that we haven't mentioned yet to each other today. Russell T Davies in Doctor Who magazine said we're not going to even know what Series 3 is going on with until the end, after Series 2 is aired. Disney are waiting till after Series 2 is aired. But then Shooty goes on Graham Norton, and even though it was cut out of the final episode, he went on Graham Norton and said, and we're going to be shooting Series 3 next year, which is 2025.
Yeah.
Coming out for 26, I assume.
It's very interesting.
So who knows?
I mean,
what's actually happening?
It's a very complicated world, the world of TV. Like, plans will be scripts are being written, all that sort of stuff, despite the fact that things haven't been commissioned. That is just the way that it goes.
Yeah.
So,
and then the amount of time it takes to make shows is insane these
100%.
days, which we know firsthand.
And if a show got commissioned for a series 3, I think Disney would be like, and we hope that you have it ready to go as well.
At least planned.
At least planned, exactly. Yeah. So
it's possible that Bad Wolf are currently making up 2 versions of every episode, one with Disney money and one without.
Well, you never know. I mean, and interestingly, in Doctor Who magazine, Russell's column on this occasion was about how far along each episode of series 2 is. And also touching on the war between land and the sea, and apparently there's another secret project.
Oh, of course, Doctor Who magazine this month came with a free Target novel.
It did.
That's so cool. I found one in the shop. I didn't buy it, but I saw one in the shop, and I felt it's like a proper full size.
It's proper book.
Novel.
Yeah. In fact, you're basically
is that the only way to
buying
get
the book.
That novel?
Yeah, they'll never do that. That's exclusive to that Doctor Who magazine.
That's
so
really
that's
cool.
going to be a bit of a collector's item.
I was tempted to buy it just for that, but then I thought, I don't know if I'm actually ever going to read it or read the magazine.
It depends how interested you are in Evil of the Daleks, and it's Evil of the Daleks in a very specific moment of the show, but I won't even go into
Is it not the whole episode, the whole story?
At the end of The Wheel in Space, which introduces Zoe, the Doctor shows her, just as an example of our travels, I'm going to show you this on screen, and then plays The Evil of the Daleks, which led into one of the very first repeat episodes, on television in the 60s, and they played Evil of the Daleks again.
Right.
So this is
that version
technically... It starts with Zoe being shown it on the scanner, and then leads into all of Evil of the Daleks, and then it ends with another.
So if I went onto iPlayer and then loaded up Ark in Space, was it?
The Wheel in Space.
The Wheel in Space. Sorry. If I loaded up the Wheel in Space on iPlayer, would I just be actually watching a cut down version of Terror of the Daleks?
No. So the Wheel in Space ends with a sort of a lead in to a repeat of Evil of the Daleks.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but we'll get to it.
I'll Google it.
We'll do Wheel in Space one day.
I'll Google it.
But yeah, so
there's a lot going on in the world of Doctor Who right now.
Lots, behind
the scenes.
And
very interesting that they had to cut it from Graham Norton.
Because
it was, for those who might have missed this, if you've gone and watched Graham Norton because you heard something was going to be said, nothing was on the actual program. They cut him off mid-sentence, essentially. I don't know have you seen the...
I saw a clip going around.
I saw that. It's not that obvious when you watch it, at least not that I found. But the Radio Times report, and I sent this to you when I saw the headline, it said that Ncuti Gatwa says that they're going to be... And they said the whole quote, and they must have got a preview copy of the episode, and it wasn't embargoed or whatever. And then everyone else just said, the Radio Times has said that this is going to happen on Graham Norton. And then everyone watched Graham Norton, and he didn't say it.
Yeah.
So...
it's a complicated thing. I'm sure we'll know more when we do.
We'll find out in due time. We still have Series 2 to get through,
well, officially, we are waiting for Series 2 to go out before it is commissioned. That's what Russell said.
Yeah, and if that's what Russell said, I don't think he's lying. I think that's probably what Disney has said. Sure, they are making their own plans to do Series 3, and if all goes well, then they probably will be able to shoot next year, but who knows?
No matter what, like you were saying.
Or maybe he's just talking about next year's Christmas special. He might not even be talking about the full series.
It's a lot of whispers that we're trying to interpret, and it's hard to do so. But like you were saying before, I'm sure they will have plans to make Doctor Who, whatever the case. It's just in a different way, So we will see.
They're not cancelling it because Mickey Mouse has said no.
Yeah, exactly. We will see what happens. But time will tell. And until then, we will talk about these episodes that we're going to be talking about in the next 2 weeks. So you won't hear about any more fresh news from now.
This is the last bit of fresh news until
mid-November.
3 episodes time. Yeah, mid-November time.
So because I'm going off to New Zealand, the land of hobbits and a very specific ad from the 1990s of Tom Baker.
I've seen those.
Have you seen that? Oh yeah, I'm going to go up to the top of that mountain. It's Mount Eden in Auckland.
Oh yeah.
So you bet I'm going to go up there.
You better recreate it in some way.
Well, I love how because I'm obviously going to New Zealand. My girlfriend Izzy, for those who don't know, she was like, great. We're going all the way halfway across the world. There'll be no Doctor Who links whatsoever for him to be shown. And then literally the day I was like, have you heard this advert that Tom Baker did in the 90s? She was like, oh my God. So never getting away from it. But yes, we're here today to talk about Kill the Moon.
Yeah.
Do you
know why? Do you know why we're doing Kill the Moon?
Why are we doing it?
Because we have a second moon.
We do. So this was very weird, actually.
It's pure coincidence.
It's very weird how we planned to do it, and then there was a post on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god.
So we have a second moon.
Yeah.
We did a tweet on Knowing Who. People have tweeted in. We'll get to that at the end of the episode. But we have a second moon, so we're going to do Kill the Moon because everyone loves killing moons.
Just a lovely drink of Frobisher's orange and passion fruit. It's helping me get through this.
Other drinks are available.
Yeah. By the end of the Sananga Conundrum review, I will be like, so thank you very much for listening.
In 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time?
3 weeks' time.
In 3 weeks' time,
yes.
we'll be doing Sananga Conundrum. Everyone's favourite story.
We will be. But till then, Kill the Moon broadcast on the 4th of October 2014. I put 2024 here because that's the date I watched it. I actually ended up watching this
watched it on the day it
on
came
its 10th
out.
anniversary.
Amazing.
Very weird.
It's hard to believe that 10 years ago
10 years
this series came out. I remember
this
it
is
so
a decade
vividly.
old. How bizarre.
This is possibly like when this series came out, I felt I know I was 13, but I felt more adult than I did child watching it, you know.
But the
I
fact
felt
that
more aware of this is a TV show, this is my favorite TV show, this is being made. As a kid, though, when I was younger than that, it's Doctor Who and it's amazing and it's the dude. But now after this, I thought TV show, you know.
You're analytical.
It's wild. It's been 10 years.
You know that people are behind making
10 years
this
since that transition,
and the fact that there's less time between Kill the Moon and Rose than there is between Kill the Moon and now. Like that's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
Because this still seems like relatively recent. I know,
it does. Exactly. It's what I'm. The same thing.
Whenever I think of any year that's got 2010 beyond, I think like, oh, that was only
a year ago.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, it's been 5 years since I started being a student. It's also been 2 years since I finished being a student. You know, 5 years.
Yeah.
Since that, I mean, time passes.
It's nuts. It's really nuts, and also like how we attribute different periods of time to different points in our life. Like the Capaldi era was very much my like secondary school experience, like A levels and you know the tail end of GCSEs. And
you're right.
Jodie Whittaker's time was university, and now Shooty's era is working life and being an adult, and oh god, mortgages. And the next Doctor
will be younger than you are.
Yeah, that's. But yes, Kill the Moon broadcast 4th of October 2014, starring Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman, written by Peter Harness and directed by Paul Wilmhurst. I hope I've pronounced his name right. I don't know. I don't know if Paul Wilmhurst did any. I think he did Mummy on the Orient Express, maybe.
Is that?
I think this was the same block. So
yeah, that would make sense.
So there you go.
Oh, it must have been because at the end of Mummy on the Orient Express, they're on a weird alien beach, which must have been.
Which probably was Lanzarote,
right? Lanzarote when they shot this. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So it was very bizarre that I ended up watching this exactly 10 years after it was broadcast.
Really strange.
There we go.
More on anniversaries next time.
Yeah. Do we want to start at the beginning and just work our way through?
I guess we should.
Because we start with the cold open, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, how long ago did you watch this? You said the 4th, was it?
Yeah,
you watched this on the 4th. So what's the date today?
13th. So
13th. So it's been a while since you watched it.
Oh my god, we're recording the 13th episode on the 13th. No wonder we're having so much bad luck with this.
That makes sense.
This is nuts.
I was going to name a broadcaster then, but I can't do that. Yes, so it's actually been a while since we've watched the episodes as well, because it's been 10 days or so.
Did you watch this one quite a few?
I can't remember when I watched it, but I'm just thinking I remember the next episode more than I remember this one, which is fine. Anyway, cold open. I've written great cold open. I don't actually remember what the cold open is.
It's Clara to camera. We have 45 minutes to decide. Boom.
Oh, yes.
We're into the 45 minutes. And I think that's really clever.
Yeah, Doctor
Who
does that a lot, don't they?
Yeah.
They sort of say, oh, we've got 45 minutes, and then the episode is 45-ish.
It's all like 42 and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
So
I mean, a lot of TV does that. But it was good. It was very good. And obviously it ties into the end of the episode as well.
Exactly. And the titles, like going straight into the title, how nostalgic are those titles?
I know, the infamous Series 8 titles as well.
Yeah, designed by a fan. And
I remember seeing the video online, the fan who created this concept. It's not exactly what ends up being on screen. But then months later I watched Deep Breath, and I thought, oh my god, it's that one from YouTube that I saw.
Yeah.
But also they sort of, if you watch Series 8, I didn't notice this at the time because I was 13, but apparently in Series 8 every episode is slightly timed differently because the titles were either stretched or shortened, or the audio didn't sync up with the video, and I can't tell unless I'm watching something very specific.
I think I would have been able to tell at the time, having seen it week on week and kind of got used to that title sequence, watching that on repeat. Because when a new title sequence comes out, you do that, don't you? You watch it again and again and again.
Yeah.
But watching it back now, I totally forgot until you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I know that
was
in
a
the
thing.
Christmas one, like the snowflakes are a frame out or something.
And there's like a thing that goes like a bubble that goes around the TARDIS
And
as it comes out of the clockwork.
Before it gets to the edge of the screen,
It disappears.
It pops off.
Yeah.
It's something like that. And apparently this was a huge point of controversy. But of course, at the time, everyone hated Pete Capaldi and the fact that he was old and that everything was new and different.
Doctor Who fans hating
exactly,
things.
I know, it's unheard of. So this is very much nitpicky, but I just thought I'd mention that. Don't you remember back 10 years ago when we all hated the title sequence?
but it's really nostalgic to look back at it, isn't it?
I love it. And it's the return of the face. I know, actually, Matt Smith's face was in the previous one. But
it's not sort of the eyes, isn't it? It's the eyebrows.
It's not his whole face.
Yeah.
It's nice. I do like that title sequence.
It's fun. It's a really interesting concept. It's something very different.
It's different. It's visually different, which is really refreshing.
And talking of Capaldi, I mean, like from the off, you get that beautiful bit of. I wrote down the exchange between him and Clara when she's talking about Courtney nicking a psychic paper.
Yes.
Saying, she stole it and used it as fake ID, and then
That's
his immediate
hilarious.
response is to get into museums.
Yes.
Like that's so.
It's so
the Doctor,
funny. It's so Doctor, and it's Capaldi shines through this whole series for me. I know we're not talking about the whole series, but I think a lot of people would agree that in this series there are a couple duds of episodes.
There's some that aren't as well regarded as
possibly even including this one. But Capaldi shines through all of those, and that was my saving grace as a kid. I still love Doctor Who, and I will never stop watching it. But I remember when this series aired, I thought, God, this is a different program now.
It was a very big change.
Exactly,
wasn't it?
and even with this new series with Shooty that's just come out, when Boom came out. The fact that Boom, he channeled Capaldi so well, that's what sort of stuck me to the newest Doctor. The fact that is still shining through, and that's what I love, really proves how much I love Capaldi, even if I don't love
it does almost feel like Moffat finally got a Doctor who he could just write as himself. Like
very much so,
it's his dialogue is so sort of hyper-realistic. Not hyper-real, like
hyperactive.
Yeah, it's kind of, you don't hear people talk like this,
and
the
juxtaposition
so
of this
quirky
fast, quirky, whatever, with this older. He's not old,
man.
but this older Doctor compared to what we've had recently. At the time, he's not the oldest ever, but almost the oldest, I think.
I think at the time
he was slightly younger than William Hartnell, I think, when he was cast. Only by a couple months.
That's nuts, though, isn't it?
I know, right?
It's crazy.
I think I could be wrong. He's around the same age, but
it was mad. But there's so many great moments for him to pick out from this, like when they get to the moon, the exposition combined with his gravity checks. He's like bouncing around the room, expositing all this stuff whilst using his yo-yo, whilst doing all this sort of stuff, and.
It's very doctory.
It's very doctory. It's a very, and the yo-yo as well.
That's a Tom Baker thing.
Tom Baker thing, and it's yellow.
Yeah.
Because it's the same colour as Tom Baker's, which Capaldi apparently went. I need a yellow one because it's got to be the same yo-yo.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. It's great when the Doctor's a fan.
It is. It really is.
There's a lot of things about Capaldi, especially. I know Tennant did it as well, but there's a lot of things about Capaldi where he made it extremely accessible for fans.
Yeah.
Like his Doctor's costume is just a buttoned-up shirt because he wanted school kids to be able to just button up their top button and pretend to be the Doctor.
Yeah, and that was the whole Sonic Shades thing.
And
as
the shades as well. Like the whole Capaldi, he's so in love with the show, which is just so amazing to see on screen.
You can tell that he's wanted to say this dialogue for ages. He's wanted to talk about gravity checks.
He's wanted to be the Doctor his whole life.
Yeah, there's all these little moments that you can see, the little thrill behind his eyes, like the moment when he has this lovely speech about fuzzy moments in time, which is almost his version of the whole, there's Tennant saying there's fixed points and sort of stuff, and he's kind of,
this is the complete opposite.
It's his version of that, really, which is quite nice. It's weird seeing with Matt Sonic, isn't it?
I know.
I forget that Series 8 he doesn't have the.
He doesn't have. I love his actual one that he gets at the end of Series 9.
It suits him. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's probably because we see him with it.
It made me think because I thought the same. Nowadays, every Doctor has their own Sonic.
Yeah.
But at the time this was made, there had only been one modern series Sonic, really, which was the blue 9 and 10th Doctors one, and then Matt Smith got his own, and it made sense that Russell for his era had one Sonic, so Moffat was going to have the one Sonic for his era. But then I think it was Capaldi at the end who said, I don't like this, it's not mine, it doesn't feel like it's my Sonic.
Well, he went from Matt to the Sonic Shades to then his own original screwdriver.
Yeah, which
so he
I
had a
love
different
his.
thing every
Yeah.
time.
But of course, in
his
the classic
design has grown
series,
on
they
me,
all
for
have
sure.
the same Sonic. Essentially, there are a couple stickers on some of them, but they were all essentially the same prop.
Yeah.
Except for the second Doctor's one, I think. So like, it made sense that, you know, they just got carried on to the next Doctor. But, but nowadays it makes sense also for branding reasons for everyone to have their own, so they can sell more toys.
For sure, it is odd. It almost looks like he's not.
It is, yeah.
He doesn't. It's not right to see him with.
Does
that.
he ever pop it open?
No,
Matt does?
I don't think.
I know the
you know
toy
what? I don't think he
I know
ever
the action
does.
figure version is the closed version.
Yeah.
Which Matt Smith's Doctor never came with a closed Sonic.
Yeah.
But the eighth Doctor, the 14th, 12th Doctor.
There we go. Third time's the charm.
It's not like it's 8 o'clock at night right now.
No, he. I don't think.
I can't imagine him
any time.
popping it. You know.
No, I think
So
he
he
had
must-
that thing
yeah.
glued shut.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I've never thought about that until now. But
It was
yeah,
literally because the action figure. That's what made me think that.
yeah. He uses
yeah.
it as a scientific instrument. Matt uses it as like a wand to
Yeah.
sort of, you know, and he
Bit
uses it as an
old school,
extension of his arm, whereas Capaldi is he uses it as a tool, and that prop, it is made for Matt. You're right, because it's meant to spring out. It's meant to be,
And it
you know,
matches his original TARDIS interior.
whereas
as well.
Capaldi's second one is very much kind of like, here is a scientific instrument that, you know,
and it
it's
matches
got all the
a bit closer to his eventual
Yeah,
TARDIS
it-
as well.
it
Although
kind
it's blue and not
it
orange.
ties up a bit.
It feels
more
a bit neater.
thematically. Yes.
Yes,
But he is absolutely
he shines through.
he shines through this one.
Although he is, like I seem to always say in the last couple of reviews, the Doctor's just a dick in this one.
Well, the Doctor.
I've realised now the Doctor is just always.
Well, I was going to ask this actually, because his kind of passive approach here,
he gets passive aggressive at the end. I mean,
very, but like that's what do we think? Because he has that whole kind of, you know, the moon's not my moon. You know, you do what you want. Like it's a captivating scene. That moment that he suddenly, like, Murray's music stops. He turns to Clara and he's like, "I'm sorry, I can't help you. You've just got to do what you got to do." The music almost tells you, like, it's like Murray's gone, huh? What?
Yeah,
you know, everything stops. It's a really captivating moment. But like, what do we think of that? Because
it's odd, isn't it?
it's a weird approach for the. It's very obviously because this series 8, this new Doctor was the approach was he's meant to be and he's meant to be more of a, you know, an arse.
And a scarier kind of darker, meaner.
So
am I a good man? The whole shebang.
It fits the intention, but then when you put it in play, like, can I see any other Doctor doing that? You know, like,
well, you think about other stories. I mean, there's no direct comparison that I can think of, but I don't think the Doctor would just say, you know what, this is a human thing to deal with. You know, like, end of the world. Let's say 9 just goes, well, the world's meant to end. Oh, I don't know. That doesn't actually make any sense.
I mean,
But
I know what you mean. There's examples of where he could have done that, but he doesn't because he's the Doctor. Especially given that this is a fuzzy moment in time. So like this is
this could go either way.
In flux almost. Yeah. So like, you know.
Well, he says that. I'm not all convinced that. I guess that's the point of the argument at the end, which we'll get to the argument in the scene. I don't want to talk about that too much.
So we'll come to that.
I think we'll come back to this whole point.
That whole debate. But we can't go any further without mentioning my favourite line that he has of the whole thing.
I've got a really funny line that I've written down and it's near the beginning.
Well, my favourite one is at the midpoint when we have the big reveal about the moon,
right?
And he goes, you know, the moon's an egg, and he's like, he's so. In that delivery, he's so buzzed and he's so excited, and then there's a little awkward pause afterwards where Jenna's like,
"Hell,
right? What?" So yeah, love that stuff.
That's an amazing line. I do love that. I have written that down at some point. I've said, "Oh, the Doctor says the moon's an egg," but no. One of my favourite lines in this is when he's saying his rules about the TARDIS when Courtney first comes on board, officially, and he says, "No being sick, no hanky panky."
Yeah.
Which, of course, makes me think of Amy and Rory immediately.
Yeah.
But the fact that Clara then goes, "Doctor," because she's a kid, and of course, who's she going to hanky-pank with?
Well, do you know the phrase hanky-panky, where that comes from? Because in the 80s, the producer, John Nathan Turner, said, you know, no hanky-panky in the TARDIS. So that was very clear that there was no... So it's a deliberate in-joke,
I know what hanky-panky
almost.
is, Miles.
But like...
No, it's a genuine...
From the show, it's a throwback to
okay,
that.
I get that.
And it was a deliberate phrase, no hanky-panky in the TARDIS.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Of course, in the modern era.
That kind of went out the window.
Probably has
Paul
happened
McGann
a couple times.
Kissing on New Year's Eve.
Paul McGann was in the news this week.
talking about
kissing.
Talking about kissing.
Yeah.
Well, there you
and
go.
then everyone's reply was, "Yeah, but you started it, mate."
Yeah.
Because he's like, David Tennant kisses too many people.
If you read the article in Doctor Who magazine, it's very much like out of context. He's kind of like,
so.
I know, I sound like a hypocrite, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, little tangent. But yeah, no, I love that little line. Another thing that I've written down is, I know the previous story involved what's her name, the girl. Courtney. I know it involved Courtney a lot. It was the Skovox Blitzer caretaker episode, I assume.
Well, I'm remembering that name. Skovox Blitzer is a name that I've not heard.
It had an action figure, which is why I remember that. Was it called The Caretaker? Was that the episode title? And she's in that. She's a main part of that. But there's this whole thing about her being special, and the Doctor, I assume, said that she wasn't special or something in the previous episode. I can't remember a thing about that story. So watching this, I'm thinking, why the hell do we care about Courtney? And why does she feel bad? I
don't think that actually happens in The Caretaker.
Is it just off-screen?
I think it's an off-screen thing. Like, she gets into...
If that's off-screen, then that's such a bizarre plot point.
I have a feeling that she's in Deep Breath and Into the Dalek, like, for, like, cameos almost. And she's properly introduced in The Caretaker. And then something happens off screen that leads into this. Originally, she had a bigger role in this. There was originally a subplot involving her that got dropped, which I think leads to her kind of being irrelevant here. And I think at the time when I was a teenager watching this, I was really annoyed by the presence of characters like her, and I was like, why are they there?
Like,
I don't really care anymore.
I don't really care, but I've written down, why is Courtney here? Does she serve a purpose? Is it just a thing to get kids interested in the programme? Like a sort of self-insert kind of, this could be you if you met the Doctor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The thing is, like, I think...
unless I've missed something, maybe we're idiots and there is something at the end of The Caretaker that we've missed. I don't know.
Well, there's a line at the end of this when the Doctor sort of throwaway says, like, and she ends up being president of the United States and marrying some
which, of course,
bloke,
is also
which
bizarre.
But that is to do with a subplot, because originally Courtney, the female astronaut they met on the moon, played by Hermione Norris.
She recognises her name, I think.
What, Courtney's
when
name?
They say, Courtney Wells, she goes, what? She looks like...
Yeah.
It feels like she knows that she
it's almost a shadow of the original idea, but originally her character was going to be Courtney from the future.
Yes, yeah.
And the whole thing was like she ends up influencing herself and all this sort of stuff. So
I think that would be a lot more interesting.
Well, I think it would give more of a reason for her to be there.
Yeah, because then even like halfway through the episode, she just goes, "I don't want to be here anymore," and they sit her in the TARDIS, and she just disappears.
And then
the episode.
Suddenly she then goes, I don't want to be here. I want to be there with you. I want to be, And
then she almost dies falling off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like she's just a bit of a bogged down weight on this story.
It's a shame that we lost that subplot, because I think that could have...
It also sort of serves for Clara to get annoyed at the end, because she's got this duty of care for Courtney, and the Doctor sort of just forgot about her. But still, you could have just gotten there without that. If that's the reason she's still... I don't know. It feels really odd for her to be here.
And it does feel like we needed something else in this to add a bit more meat to it, because essentially it is just they land on the moon, they walk across the moon, they find out the moon's an egg.
The moon's an egg.
And then nothing. They don't do anything, and it hatches. So, which obviously I'm not saying like that's
there's a lot more subtext
approaches,
to this. We'll get to sort of the more heavy sort of subtext that this episode sort of contains.
That's definitely something we'll talk about.
We'll get to it. I don't know. Something about Series 8 and sort of late Series 7 is that everything just looks kind of really cheap.
Well, that's what I was going to say about the cinematography. Do we think it's a convincing moon landscape? Because I don't think at the time I was entirely won over.
When I watched it, so the moon in my head is grey.
Yeah.
But the moon in this is black with a bit of grey.
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you watch. So I watched Doctor Who Extra. I know, Miles, you didn't.
No,
I
didn't.
literally watched it today.
I totally forgot Doctor Who Extra existed.
I know, it's a 10-minute behind-the-scenes thing. It's very dead. There's not much in it. It's very much, ooh, Doctor Who's on. What can we... And they have a few couple nothing interviews with some people. I did find out that one of the one of the guest actors in this has been in Classic Who twice.
I was aware of that. I couldn't remember who it was.
I can't remember his name. I didn't note it down, but he is named in Doctor Who Extra and obviously in the credits. He's a Mavellan in the classic series.
Nice.
And then he's also in a Seventh Doctor story, but they didn't. They mentioned the name of the story, but they didn't show a screenshot of him or who he was. They just said he was in the story.
Nice.
So he's in 2 classic series episodes, and then he's back for this one. But that's sort of all you learn from Doctor Who Extra on this episode. And then they sort of talk about when they've been to I was going to say Magaluf,
Lanzarote.
Whenever they've been to Lanzarote
Yeah.
in the past. So that was used in a Fifth Doctor serial.
Mm-hmm. Planet of Fire.
Planet of Fire.
Mm.
I was looking at Miles there, hoping he'd say it, and he didn't.
I thought you were going to get it.
That's the whole I wouldn't. That's the whole extent of Doctor Extra for this episode, essentially. But yeah, when you see them shooting on location, you kind of understand why it looks the way it does.
So did they?
The sand is black. That's
right.
Why?
So did they grade it?
Yes,
they did.
So the spaceship, obviously, the spaceship's mostly CG, but there's a bit of it there which is pure white because obviously the space shuttle is pure white, at least whitish. But then the sky, obviously, in real life Lanzarote is blue, so that's been keyed out to be sort of black for space.
Yeah.
But then the thing is that the effect you end up with is that the sky is black, but everyone is lit like they're sunny, which of course would happen on the moon because there is no atmosphere, so the sky is black. But it looks wrong to us,
and the reflections in the helmets don't help as well because you can kind of see that it's not quite.
And then a lot of the background is a matte CG background because obviously the beach that they're on isn't infinite like the moon is.
Yeah,
well, the moon's not infinite, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really match up, and the fact that they have, Doctor Who's always been a cheap show to make, especially I think at this time when people's opinions on it were wavering and the BBC probably didn't want to spend too much on it, and a whole sort of thing. David Tennant's gone, it's going to be crap. Matt Smith's gone, it's going to be even crapper. That was probably what was happening behind the scenes, whether it's official or not. But the actual ends up being that the sets look really cheap and the CGI looks really cheap, and all of that added together with a new Doctor who a lot of people didn't like. I don't know. It has an effect on people.
I guess this is kind of a tentpole episode in the series in the sense of
everyone remembers it.
But it's also episode 7 when things would slightly start to dip off in a series, I suppose. Yeah. So, and then you'd pick things up again towards the finale. So
have we had Forest of the Dead by this point?
Do you mean
Forest of the Night?
Forest of the Night. No, I think that was.
So that's still to come.
Latter end, yeah. So you've got a. So I wonder what the budget for this one was. I wonder whether this was one of the big budget ones.
A lot of the budget, I assume, would have gone to Lanzarote, getting the cast,
but then also, I mean, VFX and grade
well,
and all that sort of stuff. Like that would take.
Not cheap.
It's not cheap, no. So I'd be very interested to know, how much of that, and also apparently the area that they used. I don't know whether this is true. This was from TARDIS Wiki, so take it for a pinch of salt. But apparently the area from Lanzarote that they used was an area that astronauts use as a training ground for the moon.
Yes, that's mentioned in Doctor Extra.
So
that's where that's been sourced from.
But just because it's a place on Earth
say
that
in
they
Doctor
use.
Extra, it's the character playing the female. I can't remember her name. The female astronaut.
Hermione Norris is the actor.
Sure. So Hermione Norris is saying, "Oh, apparently this is where NASA sends all their astronauts to train their kit on the moon."
Yeah.
So it's apparently. There's no real. I don't know.
But then equally, like,
with the gravity,
just because it is a place that they use to train does not also mean like therefore
like
it is the moon.
I mean, when you see the behind the scenes shots compared to what ends up in the show, I feel like I would have just preferred them just to use that.
As it looked.
Yeah, without the matte CGI background as well.
Yeah,
if you just shot it in a way that you didn't see those bits.
A very hard thing to do. So
it is.
Well done to them for pulling off what they did.
They mention Stephen Moffat. It mentions in Doctor Extra, like, we could have gone to a Welsh quarry, but at the end of the day, this looked the most like the moon that we could find. Also, I bet they just wanted to go to a nice sunny place.
Why not go to Lanzarote? And also they get to do the beach at the end, which
they could have also done in Wales, but why not? If you're in Lanzarote,
want to have a bit of sun, and bake in those spacesuits. Yeah, let's take actors out there to roast in spacesuits.
And I know you mentioned this to me, I think midweek, but the spacesuit that Peter Capaldi wears is David Tennant's spacesuit. That is mentioned in Doctor Extra as well.
Yes,
and he says he has to look out for all the hair gel that's been left behind in the helmet.
Yeah,
which is very funny.
And I like how Clara and Courtney obviously get their own bespoke spacesuits as well.
I don't know where the Doctor's been hiding.
Maybe those are the ones that Dan and Yaz wear.
Eventually they
later
end up
on
being worn by
as well.
Do you think somehow the Doctor's like quantum entangled some copies of that spacesuit because he likes it so much?
Maybe.
Do you think
maybe
that's how it's?
It's a cool spacesuit.
It is.
It's a very good design. Yeah,
it's timeless.
It is. That's hence why it keeps coming back.
I hope Shooty wears it one day.
I'm sure there'll be
the helmet shows up at the end of season 1.
It does. Is it in the
TARDIS.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. From Tennant onwards, we've seen every Doctor wearing that spacesuit, haven't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we need to get Shooty in it.
Except for Matt didn't wear the harness in his, and it looks really weird and hide because it looks like he's really baggy. It's like a baggy t-shirt version of the spacesuit. It's very weird. Talking of Hermione Norris, who you mentioned there, what do you think of her? I don't know her character name.
I can't remember either.
Because I think this episode had a lot of cuts, including the scene where they all introduce themselves.
Do they? That makes sense.
I think she called like Ludwig or something like that.
I'm gonna Google it.
But so
pad.
Getting away from all those introductions, that doesn't help later on, because also it gives you a disconnect for the characters as well, I feel. So that was very strange how we didn't get
They
that.
do sort of say, "Who are you?" and then they say, "These are my assistants."
But nothing more than that really.
Yeah.
She didn't have a big intro.
Lundvik.
Right. Well, there you go.
That's it. She doesn't have a surname, apparently. She's just Lundvik.
She has a sort of passive, kind of understated performance, which is obviously
she wants to get the job done.
An approach.
And she's hiding a lot from the main characters as well. She's not telling them exactly what's up her sleeve.
So obviously it's an intentional approach, and I've seen her. I think she's in Cold Feet. She's very good in that.
Sure. I haven't.
But she, I don't know why her approach just doesn't work for me personally. I just think that
it makes her seem like the bad guy, which I guess she is.
I suppose so. You've got to have a antagonist in some respects. But I think that she does come out of her shell a bit more as soon as the Doctor leaves and she's got to take charge. I feel like she does.
She does take charge.
Yeah, she does take charge
begrudgingly. Doing what Clara wants her to do.
Yep. There's some really great scenes between her when her and Clara are having their debate. I think that it's some great stuff. Like Jenna in that scene, like where they talk about how many people that they could end up killing on the Earth, and then there's a mention of like it's just a baby, and she says something to Clara like do you want to have babies? And Clara, there's that pause.
Yeah.
In Jenna's face you can see it, and she has that sort of slow realization like. Yeah. I oh my God, I've never thought about this stuff before, but here we are.
Courtney then goes, Mr. Ping.
Yeah, which kind of undermines a very.
Although at some point in this series we do
moment.
see their future kid, or Danny's at least, future
Awesome
generation.
Pink, is it?
Awesome Pink. Although he's also wearing the orange spacesuit for some reason, and also he never ends up existing, I guess.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. Yeah, very strange.
Series 8 was a interesting one.
I mean, Jenna's so good. I think Act 3, when the Doctor leaves, that's when she grabs the show and is like, right, this is mine now. Like for the rest of this runtime, this is mine.
Especially right at the end, which again we'll get to.
She's so good. Oh, she's so good in this.
Jenna she really shines through. Well, we've already said that Capaldi shines through, but she also shines through in this.
No wonder she has Victoria, more recently the Jetty. She's a great lead figure, and in the moments in Doctor Who where she does get that, she even gets to be top billing on the title sequence for an episode of this series.
Yes.
So she is so deserving of that. She's great. I love her. Fantastic. Yes. Sorry, cool. I was just rambling about Jenna Coleman for a bit then.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Once it was Jenna Coleman, now it's Millie Gibson.
There's always Jenna Coleman. Oh,
always.
Love her.
Right, what else? I'm just going to look at my notes because we're still sort of near the beginning of the episode, really. I've written this was shot on location in Tenerife. That's wrong. It's Lanzarote. That was just off the top of my head, off the dome. I've said nice reuse of the orange spacesuits. Don't know where you got the spares from, though. Like we've just said. Who knows? There's a bit where Courtney goes weightless on the space shuttle.
Yeah.
No one else does.
I didn't quite understand what was going on in that bit.
No.
And there was the spider, and it was like...
I don't know. Yeah, it's odd. And then I've written, the whole moon mystery the Doctor doesn't know thing is stupid, hasn't been decided yet, bollocks. So the whole time influx thing, I thought that's a bit bollocks. That's never happened before, so why is it suddenly a thing now?
There's a lot of things in me in flux. Yeah, definitely. Like the whole...
This thing feels like such an important moment in history that I think the Doctor does know what
Do you think?
the moon is. I think
he could be having them on because...
I think he's having them on.
Yeah.
Because he genuinely thinks that humans should make this decision. So I think that is he's just sort of and it's sort of at the end there's a bit where she goes, "Did you know?" And he sort of he doesn't answer the question. He avoids it. So I think he does actually know about the moon being an egg. The moon's an egg.
The moon's an egg.
I've said all the outdoor shots of the moon absolutely suck.
I don't think it's that they suck. It's just that it doesn't quite work. But I mean,
it doesn't quite work. I mean, we've explained why.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
We know exactly.
I just want to say, like, power
to
them for trying, because it's
I
such a hard thing to pull off.
Is. And I don't remember, as a 13-year-old, when I first watched this episode, did I think the same? Did I think in 2014 that looked awful? Or
I definitely remember
me looking back at it thinking that.
I remember watching it at the time and kind of having this weird thing of knowing it was the moon, but also not knowing it was the moon. Do you know what I mean? Like, because
the fact that they haven't got the bouncy gravity, and
that's
like,
part of
the
it.
Moon,
you know?
Isn't it? Actually, talking about that, where on Earth? So the moon has put on weight. Yeah. Where's the weight come from?
From the mass of the creature within.
Yeah, but mass can't be created without absorbing like a huge amount of energy.
True.
This is a huge plot point. This is a huge plot hole that I've created. I'm sure other people have thought of it. I get it. It's an egg and it's growing, and that's why it's heavy.
At the end of the
that
day,
doesn't make any sense.
Because where is it? Where's the mass?
Exactly. It's not coming from Earth, because otherwise they'd know.
At the end of the day, like, the moon is a giant egg. Like that. It's a daft idea in and of itself. So the more you think about it, the more you realise that, I suppose. It's a. The politics of this episode, the message. You know, a lot of people talk about the whole, the allegory of abortion and all that sort of stuff. But I, it's a heavy subject, but I'm not sure what it's trying to say about it. Like,
I can't tell either.
It doesn't have any stance. Like, it's not even saying like, there's some of this, there's some of this. It's kind of just saying like, you can kill a baby, or you can have a baby.
Which is, that's essentially the political argument as well.
But there's no like, here's...
They don't go into reason as to why they should go down either option. They just go, I'm going to kill it. And then they say, don't kill it. And then she says, I'm going to kill it anyway. Well, and then they don't kill it.
But then there's also this bit of like, at the end, the doctor has this speech. He looks up into the sky and says, Earth looked into the sky and saw something beautiful. Something it didn't want to kill. And then it's like... But it did, like, literally the Earth decided they wanted to blow it up. Like,
the Earth chose, and then the Doctor didn't let them choose, or Jenna, or Clara. Yeah,
Clara chose,
and then the Doctor seems to be pro-life, which I'm not going to get into the meaning of that.
But it's like
it's just kind of bizarre.
It kind of touches on it, and as if it's like, should we do it? And then it's like, no. So it's kind of like it's got no message to it.
It's not got any. There's no explanation behind really anything, but it does sort of come off as the Doctor and the BBC possibly, and Stephen Moffat and the production, and all those people who had to go through this and sign all this off, sort of are pro-life and thought, I don't care about who I'm going to piss off by making this episode. Because I'm sure a lot of people were.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's obviously very surface level. Because
there's even a bit. The Doctor says, "Womankind, it's your choice." It's quite like word for word. The Doctor says, "Women, you've got to decide," which obviously they do, and it's completely their own decision. I'm not going to wade in on that argument, but
I think Doctor Who can touch on these subjects, and because like more recently with Dot and Bubble, it's touched on like racism and all that sort of stuff, and I think it can touch on these things, but I think that sometimes it can be a bit more
heavy-handed almost.
In this it's very much like, it's obviously going to be talking about this because here is a...
I mean, there's even a big red button that says abort on it, It's just...
It's not subtle.
It's not at all.
But then equally, it's not got anything to say
No,
about
and then
it
this
as
series later on, in the finale, there's the whole not subtle thing about don't cremate your dead relatives, which distressed a lot of people out at the time.
Yeah,
which I didn't actually clock as a kid, like I said, but I remember reading about that later on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This series in general is controversial and strange, and people have different opinions on it. And this is just another part of, the mess that was Series 8. Really.
Yeah.
I think we got messier seasons later on down the line, but this one especially was, I don't know, almost a sign of things to come.
It kind of had a goal in terms of we're going to do something very different with the Doctor.
It didn't work.
And it's not that it didn't work, it's just that it kind of... it kind of couldn't decide at times what it wanted to do with that idea.
When I say it didn't work, I mean you look at Series 9, you look at Series 10, like that aspect of
they nail the Doctor in Series 10 though, don't
Series
they?
Series 10 is amazing.
They
I
work
love
out
Series 10,
how they could do it.
When you look at, Am I a Good Man? Then you go to the beginning of Series 9 and he doesn't care anymore and he's rock and rolling on a tank in the middle. He doesn't. I don't know. They go back on a lot of things that they said they were going to do in Series 8.
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting era. But one thing that I think we can decide on that I'm sure we both love, unless you've got anything else to talk about the episode, is that amazing end scene in the TARDIS between Peter and Jenna.
It is great.
There's no music as well, which I love. I think Murray's got a real good restraint in this one in terms of like, okay, I'm going to hold back now, because in these moments, like I mentioned earlier about the whole, just as the Doctor's about to leave and say, it's not my mood, there's no music. Just as in this scene, there's literally not a beat of music until Clara goes to leave at the very end of the scene. It's just, here's two performers at the top of their game. Go for it.
It's amazing, and it's sort of the argument that they have. I mean, I'm not specifically talking about what they're arguing about, but just the way they're talking to each other, the way you can see it in their faces, it feels real. I mean, it sort of, as I was watching it, it sort of, it felt like arguments I've had with, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble, girlfriends and ex-girlfriends, when you think absolutely you are right and they think that they are absolutely right, and you can't come to a middle ground.
Well, it's a breakup, really, isn't it?
It's exactly
scene.
What it is. It feels like a breakup, and if you've gone through one, then you know what that feels like, and it is exactly how it plays on screen, and it tugs at those heartstrings that you have if you've obviously if you've ever had that experience. And it's very real. It's hugely real, and you can see that even I think the Doctor was wrong to do what he did, and I'm sure Clara does as well, and I assume most of the audience agrees. I don't know if that's I don't know.
I think you're meant to side with Clara.
You're meant to,
instance, yeah.
But you can see the look on the Doctor's face where he believes he is right in what he has done. The option he chose to do, he still sees as right, and he is baffled that Clara sees it any other way. And it is absolutely a position that I have been in the past when I've had an argument with people, I
kind of love how the conflict, but not for conflict's sake. It's you go back to the classic era and the Sixth Doctor and Perry, who I don't know if you'll have seen any of their stuff yet.
I don't think so. I know of both characters.
They're always just, in their first series at least, they become warmer in the second series, but initially they're just always bickering for no reason. He's just horrible to her. Whereas this is like, no, we've been building this whole episode up to this moment of where Clara goes, right, enough's enough.
And even though I think the Doctor storming off or disappearing is superficial and probably doesn't make any sense in the long run, they had to have some sort of catalyst for the argument at the end, because that's the whole point of the episode, I guess. But the actual argument itself, even if it was caused by superficial, we have to have the Doctor go off and annoy Clara for some reason. The actual point, the scene is beautiful.
It's so good.
It's amazing. It's so good.
It ends it on such a wow. And also to the point where it is the whole breakup thing, and Clara has a conversation with Danny. She goes back to her flat, has a glass of wine, and Doctor Who. It keeps going.
I mentioned this to you before we watched the episode, that I saw a TikTok of just this scene. And those who have TikTok,
and you forget
it's one of those 10-second TikToks with 15 parts that you have to scroll through their account to watch the whole thing. And I did the whole thing for that scene, and then I stopped after she left the TARDIS. I thought that was the end. I thought she leaves and it's the end of the episode. It keeps going. There's like a massive chunk where she
beautiful bit when she goes back to her flat and she looks out the window and there's the moon in the reflection of the window, and it's a beautiful shot to end on. But then you get the trailer for Mummy on the Orient. It's such a hard time to say. Mummy on the Orient Express, which doesn't have Clara in it. They have very carefully cut around that, to the point where I remember at the time going, "Oh wow, so we're going to have a Doctor, a companion-like episode, a bit like Midnight, So I was sort of almost not disappointed, but when the next week opened and she was there.
I remember the build-up to Mummy on the Orient Express, because they released a music video with foxes singing
Don't Stop Me Now.
That's the song. I could hear it in my head as hearing the name. So I remember that build-up in that week building up to the episode, but I don't specifically remember
Well,
wondering where Clara
I remember
was, but it makes sense.
because I remember you earlier in the week.
Mhm.
You mentioned just off, like you were like, oh yeah, I saw that scene on TikTok, and then we mentioned Mummy on the Orient Express, and you were like, is Clara even in that one? And I was like, I know, right? It's
yeah, when you
weird
think,
because
I know she is because she's in that flapper dress and she's had her hair cut and like the whole shebang. And at the end, I know they go to a beach and they have another deep chat, which I can't remember exactly, but I assume it is actually no, I'm going to keep traveling with you.
basically, yeah,
yeah. But it is strange that they've put this episode where it is, considering where it ends. Like, you could have had Clara and the Doctor have this argument in the penultimate story, and then their last swan song, instead of being Mummy on the Orient Express, is the finale, which then changes Clara's mind and then is leading into the next series. Because when you think about it like this, I know it's a powerful scene that we love, but then it leads into just another story, which then leads into just another story, and then again just another season.
Yeah.
So it's an odd placement. If it was later in the series, maybe it would have been a bit more powerful almost. But the fact that she basically resolves the conflict instantly in the next story.
Well, I'm not sure it's so instant because
Is the next one the one where the Doctor lands in her flat and says, "Why have you coloured in your face?"
No, I think that's any number of the earlier ones in the series.
Been, yeah.
But from what I remember of Mummy is that Clara is very reflective throughout the whole thing, and I think she has a conversation with one of the side characters, sort of saying, I'm not sure, I'm with this guy, I don't know whether I should still keep on traveling with him.
Yeah.
And I think there's like phone calls with Danny where she's like, oh yeah, it's going sort of well, but I don't know. So I think it is a theme throughout that episode.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying in the whole, like, it feels so big that to resolve it in one episode is a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe, I assume Moffat wrote Mummy on the Orient Express.
No, that was Jamie Matheson.
Was it not? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Moffat said there has to be some kind of conflict between the characters.
Oh, he would have had a hand in that.
Exactly, yeah. Because then that would sort of... Because Kill the Moon, to me, is a bit of a nothing story in the long run. Obviously, the moon's an egg. And that changes everything about the moon forever.
Until you think of the ending and what
except
it means.
For the end, yeah. But it literally exists to have the ending, which means the story only exists to create that ending, which is why the Doctor's such a dick in this episode.
Which he's got to do something so horrible
conflict, which is then essentially you've just hit the desk again. Which then I always have to point it out. So essentially, the whole reason that Kill the Moon exists is to just lead into Mummy on the Orient Express. I don't know. This is essentially just a 5-minute scene at the end of an episode to build into the next episode. The rest of it is take it or leave it.
But it is such
except
a good
for the
scene
fact that
it's
a great scene. I'm not
doesn't
denying
forgive
that.
it, but like the scene is so good.
It is, and as I was watching this, I was thinking, oh god, the moon's an egg. Oh, it's abortion. Oh, great, political, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Is the BBC pro-life? But then at the end of the episode, you get that sort of scene, and it is great. And like I said, it feels like real life. It feels like places I have been in my life with people I have known and loved for years.
And regardless
of
whether
amazing, and that's worthwhile. That makes the episode worthwhile.
Regardless of whether it feels earned or not, I think it's still in isolation a fantastic scene and just a showcase of those two performers and a very different kind of approach, which I think is great. So yeah, it's an interesting one, this, and one that I'll also, here's a fact for you, was originally written for Matt Smith. This was originally going to be in Series 7, I think, and this was at a time when he had a Victorian companion called, and I had no idea about this, Beryl.
Ooh.
So there you go.
I think I've heard that at some point.
Yeah.
But,
so there you go.
I
So
assume that would have been...
I think it would have been
Clara, Time with the Doctor storyline plotted out. It would have been pre-Asylum with the Daleks, I guess.
I'm sure it would have been.
It would have been years and years.
And it would have been a very different story. I can't see Matt's Doctor.
I don't think
that.
Matt Smith is pro-life. At least the 11th Doctor. He is a good man, except for the time where he killed billions.
Yeah. He goes to war.
Doesn't he have like the highest death count? Have you seen that video where someone tallies all the kill counts of all the
I'm
Doctors?
not surprised.
And like 11,
that's a very
I think
Doctor
11
fan
has
they
like
do.
billions. Well, obviously the War Doctor killed all of Gallifrey.
Yeah.
But then I guess it gets undone. I don't know. But one little thing I want to end on is Clara's flat. You mentioned it. She has that glass of wine and it's poignant and pretty, and the shot is really lovely. Where the hell has Clara got all this furniture from? Because it's just like a random thought. When we first meet this version of Clara, she's a nanny.
Yeah.
In a house that she doesn't own, and she's living in the attic. And then she goes traveling with the Doctor for, I assume, a couple years.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to the Christmas special in 2013, which is only 6 months or so, not even, since we first met this version of Clara, she has her own flat where her parents come to visit for Christmas dinner.
Well,
and she has a flat and furniture. I get you can move into a pre-furnished flat, and it could just all have come with the flat. But this is like sentimental, personal. It's got throws, it's got cupboards, it's got painting. Like, I don't know where.
The Doctor gives Amy and Rory a house in the God Complex.
She's also, I assume, gone off and got a teaching degree, secondary school, PGCE.
Yeah. But Clara's the kind of companion who's like, every other weekend she'll go traveling with the Doctor. Till then, she's got normal life. But I'm sure the Doctor, the Doctor would have had a hand in it somehow. Like the Doctor will always give his companions an abode, unless it's Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's probably why. But there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of strange. I guess there must have been a lot of time between Time of the Doctor and Day of the Doctor, and then also Night of the Doctor.
The Paul McGann minisode.
Other way around. I meant, instead of Time of the Doctor, I meant Name of the Doctor into Day of the Doctor. There must have been a big time jump.
I'm very ill, Ben. I have no idea what's going on right now.
At the end, we're getting into this now. Sorry, listeners. At the end of Name of the Doctor, they've stepped into his time stream, and then the Doctor says, "You're not the Doctor that I chose to be," or whatever. Not in the name of the Doctor.
God, it's been ages since
that's how that story ends. And
Can we put Name of the Doctor on our list of episodes to review?
Yeah, we should. Yeah. I think we were avoiding finales for now, but we can put that in. I think we've got to a point now where we can do finales.
Why not?
He's not in the name of the Doctor. And then introducing John Hurt. Then he saunters off somehow outside of his time stream. Never explained. And then the next time we see them is Clara's on a motorbike in London. And then she meets the TARDIS in the field. So there must have been some kind of time skip there in between those two scenes. And then another one in between the end of Day of the Doctor. How does the Day of the Doctor end? Museum. Clara walks off into the museum. And then the next time we see her, she has her own flat, which is also Rose Tyler's flat.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is also Millie Gibson's flat?
No.
Ruby's flat. The exterior might be.
She lives in Notting Hill.
Yeah, but in 73 Yards. Old Ruby.
Old Ruby.
Not super old Ruby.
Old glasses wearing
40-year-old who looks like a 20-year-old Ruby.
Yeah.
That's the same building, I believe, as Clara and then Rose's.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, something to think about. I just thought, where the hell has she got all this stuff from?
Cheers.
Anyway,
wow.
What a light little funny thing to end on.
Lovely. That's the TikTok sorted. Well, there we go. That's Kill the Moon.
We've killed it. We've killed the moon.
We've done it. We've killed the moon. There we go.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, have you got any?
People have tweeted in.
Oh, wow.
I'm so sorry to everyone who's already tuned out.
Lovely. Well, this is your job. You're the socials
one,
so
I know.
I should rely on it. But there you go.
Just don't mind the fact that it's 9:15 in the evening and we still have another episode to record, and we're both operating at 40%.
Oh.
There's only three. There's only three to get through.
Go on.
Jack Alexander from our friends over at an Awful Lot of Podcast.
Jack.
He says, an absolutely underrated banger, an overly hated 10 out of 10. Yes, I said that. It gives a unique TARDIS team with the inclusion of Courtney, and the scene of the Doctor and Clara in the TARDIS is one of the best in the entire revival. Well, I agree. We agree at the last bit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it 10 out of 10. Would you? How would you rate this episode?
I'm not going to rate it.
You're not going to rate this episode. I don't want to wade in on the politics of this. I wouldn't say 10 out of 10.
But we are absolutely agreed, Jack, that
the scene at the end is brilliant.
Is a highlight of the revived series.
I'd say.
Yeah,
the entire revived series.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I love that stuff. I love those kind of scenes. Yeah.
And we don't get conflict between doctors and companions anymore.
No, but I love that kind of the slightly domestic,
Exactly, domestic. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Unique TARDIS team, true. Not denying that. I feel Courtney is a bit pointless though. Still,
yeah,
the whole inclusion of Courtney. But yes, the end of the episode is absolute banger material.
Uh-huh.
Analysing Doctor Who, a regular in this segment, says, one relatively minor thing was Ellis George's Courtney. Always thought she was a lovely addition to the show, and it's a pity we've never seen her since.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Opposite of what I've just said, but sure. And then Harry Draper just says,
"Oh, Harry,
I've got to embrace the moon. I got to sniff the moon. I got to lick the moon. I got to wash the moon. I got to date the moon. I got to be the moon." And I don't know if that's in reference to anything. I have absolutely no idea.
Oh, I love you,
but I
Harry.
thought I'd include that.
On that lovely bombshell, I think we should end it there.
Yeah.
And what final words
Brilliant.
to end on. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. You will not be hearing us in a fortnight.
It'll be 3 weeks.
You'll be hearing us in 3 weeks, but on the anniversary,
the sixth anniversary of the Saranga Conundrum, we will be back talking about the Saranga Conundrum.
We were waiting for this anniversary
it was
for all our lives.
We've been planning it. Nice.
Yeah.
We've been planning it for years. It's a great little reference to the 50th ad there.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't do it in Matt's voice today. I'm very ill.
You're too ill.
Yeah.
All our lives. Anyway, that was horrible.
Patrick Troughton.
Moons and egg.
Yeah.
I can do moons and egg. I think the cold helps me with the moons and egg.
Go on. Let's do it one more time before we end.
The moons and egg.
Bye-bye, everyone. You've been listening to Knowing Who, another Doctor Who podcast, with me, Miles Taylor.
And me, Ben Davidson. Thank you to Sonny King for producing our theme tune.
And thank you to you for listening. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, plus YouTube on the Tailored Vision YouTube channel.
You can also follow us on all social media channels at Knowing Who Pod.
Catch you next time for more Knowing Who.